But the takeouts from that part of the is a summary of the journey that we went on as a business to try to work out how this all works for us. And you'll notice that they talk about there being 93% of purchases are still made in bricks and mortar stores. In actual fact, in Calendar Club, 98% of our sales budget for this year is about your stores. So we don't want you to be a rabbit in the headlights of the internet. 98% of our sales is still part of the store. The other thing that's key, that was a key takeout from that particular little video for me, was that our customers are those 28-year-olds that search online to determine what they are going to purchase. They search online to research the business that they're going to purchase from and find out whether it's a credible business and what sort of persona they have. And then they actually hop in the car with their friends, meet for coffee and make the purchase in the stores. So a key part of the way that the internet will work for you, the licensees this year, is to make sure that we have a presence where people are making their purchasing decisions. That's online. But they will still purchase from you in store, predominantly.
So a couple of quick outtakes I just wanted to leave you with is, if you look at the Australian retail economy, less than 5% of all Australian transactions, so you've got Jerry Harvey up there, very respected retailer, harping on about GST and we should tax imports and all that type of stuff. Less than 5% of Aussie purchases today are online. Less than 5% of retail sales. Okay? In the US, it's approaching 10, but hasn't cracked it properly yet. Okay? What does that mean? Why do you care? Why are we talking about it? So we've talked about social media, so that's one of the brand pillars. That's important because Chris touched on it earlier. So Chris is like an online native, and he said, don't talk to me about selling your product overtly to me and spruik it into my face, otherwise I'm going to turn off you. Right? So it's about just being there, being topical and having a conversation. And if they want to reach out to you, they will. You cannot control them and you cannot push to them. Because if you think that the internet and your online stores are two different channels, you're about 5 years behind your thinking. They are now completely merged. That 28-year-old Gen Y mum, she probably has 1 or 2 kids. She's still 3 independent women in one, so she's a professional. She's chosen to become a mum because that's her experience, and she's chosen to enjoy motherhood. And she's also her own independent woman, so she'll still go to the shopping mall with her friends and all that type of stuff. She has her smartphone. If she wants to pressure test your brand, she will, without your control. Okay, so that's why it's important that we participate. For you as licensees, we've engineered our program so you can't lose. You will get 15% of every e-com sale that you make. You have a uniquely trackable coupon per store. Every one of your receipts that prints out has that coupon code. So after you've done your sale, you've made your purchase, the bottom of this receipt, your next purchase, you can get 10% off by going online by entering my unique code. That's uniquely trackable to you. We'll reconcile that at the end of the season, pay you, then we'll reconcile it again in April, and then we'll reconcile it again next June. Okay, so if you, as an affiliate, keep making e-com sales, we will continue to pay you commission because if you do good, we do good. The other thing you need to know is we will not change any of our prices to be different from the stores while you're trading. So they cannot go online unless you've given them your own coupon code to get something cheaper. It's as simple as that. So you cannot lose. So have your conversations with your customers. The titles that aren't available in your kiosk because you're Melbourne based, you're WA based, you're South Australian based, you're from Canberra, you might not have the LA Lakers. You might not have Brisbane Broncos. So that's where you can steer them online to get that incremental opportunity. Adversely, you might say to me, well, Pete, you've given them 10% off now, so they're going to go elsewhere and they're not going to buy from our kiosk. They're still going to get your calendar because you gave them that 10%, they're still going to give you commission. Okay? But you cannot force these consumers on how they're going to shop. So if you think you can control them, you're wrong. So it's all about omni-channel, multiple channels. Social media, online being our e-commerce store, which is going to be live very shortly. Facebook, subtle selling, And then you've also got calendarclub.com.au, which a lot of you have come to research frequently asked questions on recruitment. That's if they want to actually know if we're fair income as a company and if they should trust us with their credit card information. They'll see how long we've been trading, what we're all about. And again, it's about credibility, okay? So these 4 pillars that all come together, and you'd be silly not to leverage them.
So, Pete's already mentioned these particular points that we have on the screen. So we'll move forward and we'll show you what our internet store will look like, our e-commerce site. That's what it looks like currently. One of the key things for you is that internet can be browsed from your point of sale machine. So if you do have somebody who comes into the store and wants to know if they can get Blue Dog with Pink Rabbit and blue shoes, which would be quite rare, you can bring that up, connect to the internet, search the site and see if it is available. If it is available, then if the person is willing to put in their credit card and address details, you can place the order straight there. Use your voucher code so they get 10% off at that point in time. The other thing is to give them the voucher code and get them to take it home, enter it in and purchase online. So that's what that's all about.
Sorry.
You said the voucher code, is it only, you only give that them when they must make their first purchase, or am I correct? Because you can't, you're not going to just give them your coupon code and then they just buy online.
No, you
But
would want
you're
to...
saying that you can do it for
The vouchers will be in a dispenser on the store, and there'll also be pads available for you at the point of sale. So if somebody's making an inquiry about a calendar that you don't have in stock, that's your opportunity to hand them a voucher. Also, having made a sale, you may choose to also give them a voucher there and suggest that they browse online. You will get the benefit of those purchases by getting 15% commission. Does that answer the question, Clint?
And also, we're an impulse and convenience business. We're a solution for gifts. So if you have a customer there and then, they're going to be happy with your service. In the heat of the moment, it's Christmas, it's busy, they need to get home, they want to stop shopping so they can tick everything off, right? So it's unlikely that someone's going to go, right, I can go save $2 by going home, working it out, going on the internet, giving you my credit card details, and I might get it in 7 to 10 days. Or I'll then lose that discount, pay express postage, and get that hopefully before Christmas. It's not how it works. But again, they might do that, Clint. So again, you can't control them. So how you want to sell to these customers is up to you. But we are an impulse business that is really dependent on how good you, the licensee, and your staff actually capture them sales. And when you go through the planogram and the way that we've got the bricks and mortar program, it would be really, really difficult not to get a UBT of 2 or 3 in a lot of our key best-selling sections. So Sarah will talk to you about that later.
Okay, so we're going to move ourselves out of the cloud and back down into some bricks and mortar retail.
Oh, that's a
So we've brought up this slide to point out to you a couple of, and over the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to point out to you some features of our resources that we've given you. Peppered throughout the manual, the licensee resources manual, there are some checklists. There are 5 of them in total. The first one, and you can find these if you in the break. If you like, you can find these on page 40, 115, 194, 240 and 241 of the manual. So during the break, maybe flick those up and have a look at them. I've got an example of one of them on the screen here. This is the checklist where you're 3 weeks out. So earlier today I said getting to this point, we talked about having a contract signed and giving us delivery address and stuff like that. This is the checklist that you would probably want to run through about 3 weeks out. If you ask, so about 3 weeks out, you need to make sure all these things are done. Further on in the manual, there's one for 2 weeks out, and it'll cover things like initial deliveries, increasing your product knowledge, and starting to build your store. Then further on, there's another one called 1 week out. That will cover things like finalising your pre-build of your store and making sure that you've got all your staffing requirements and your roster and so forth. Later on the manual will describe how you're now trading, and it gives you a daily checklist. And the daily checklist covers everything from dusting off the kiosk first thing in the morning to putting the covers back on at night and making sure you do your upload and download on your point of sale machine. And then there's a weekly checklist which will remind you that you need to put in a weekly sales report, that you're going to get replenishment, you'll need to mark off stock during the week and send us requests for adjustment and so forth.
And Steve, why is it important to mark off your stock? Your stock will arrive in a box, something like this. Can someone tell me how many calendars would fit in this box?
50.
50. Around up to 50 is the correct answer. What's the average value of one of our calendars? $20. So what's this box worth? $1,000. So it's really important throughout the season that you check your stock off and you make sure that every box you receive is your box and not a box for another store, and you notify Calendar Club if for any reason you've received an incorrect box. It's also important to go through and check to make sure that the 50 calendars in there are the 50 that's actually in the consignment note inside the box. And again, if it's not, you need to tell us about it. Otherwise, at the end of the season, what happens? You'll get charged for any variations that you haven't told us about. So it's important to make sure right through the season you keep checking. Cole said in the actual wisdom earlier about checking it regularly and doing it promptly when it arrives so you know what's in there. It also gives you the opportunity of getting any stock that you've run out of onto the shelf in a timely fashion as well.
It's a really important point, guys. An average kiosk will get about 150 grand worth of stock. Okay, so it's really important. You're going to get lots of boxes and lots of stock. So make sure you're across it.
Is there mixed calendars in those boxes, or are they just, they are?
Yeah.
So there could be, that will be written on the side. No.
It won't be written on the side. You'll get a consignment note inside the box, and that will tell you exactly what's inside this particular box. And you have to check each of those off, but we'll cover that later on the weekend.
Yeah,
So-
it could have dogs in it, art in it, travel in it, anything.
So we're going to actually spend an hour on day 2 going through an exercise where we describe very carefully how to manage and stock control those boxes, because each one of them is $1,000. Another question here?
When you receive your initial stock, how much time do you have for you to report if there are any discrepancies between the invoice and what you actually have?
That's a very good question. That's why we've got a weekly checklist, and on the weekly checklist there's a point in the weekly checklist that says make sure you've reported your discrepancies. So it's a weekly process. You'll get stock once a week. By the end of, before you get the next lot, you want to have reported those discrepancies from the previous one, otherwise you're just going to fall behind.
It is done through all through the portal.
Yes, you'll need to log a ticket with any discrepancies.
Oh, 2 tickets for that one. Yeah. You got that one right straight away.
Printing off your invoices,
Yes.
if you found a discrepancy in the boxes,
Yes.
do they replenish what you were missing, or do they
Okay.
just...
Once again, we're going to spend an hour talking about this, but that's a very good point. Another reason, apart from your own controlling your stock and minimising your stock loss, another reason to make sure you report all discrepancies to us is that if the machine thinks we've sent you something, but we haven't sent it to you in actual practice, you'll never get to sell it and you'll never get more of it. So we're going to wrap up this section. I just wanted to emphasise that the checklists are in the manual on those pages. Have a look for them during one of the breaks. Familiarise yourself with them. They're one of the key resources that we've given you. We've given you 2 other key resources. One is our Licensee Resources Manual. Now, you'll find that the Licensee Resources Manual is sorted out in chronological order. So it starts off with signing your contract, and it finishes with sending everything back to us. It talks about retailing in there, it talks about POS, okay? You'll find that the way that it's laid out is that there's a topic for almost everything. The topic will be introduced very briefly. Then we have almost in point form some suggestions and recommendations. The next thing is that we try to answer your question. Your biggest question is, why do I need to do this? Why is this a good idea? And then the final thing, and one change that we've made to the manuals over this year, is that there are things that Calendar Club want to innovate and improve and do better in the future. We've identified many of those throughout the manual, and that's where we've asked for your feedback through the communications portal on how we could improve this area of our business. And we've specifically asked within the manual for your input in those areas. If there are other things that you think you should or could add value to our business by giving us your thoughts, then please feel welcome to do so. So that's our resources manual. The resources, this training over these 2 days will not answer every single question you've got. We'll do our very best to answer as many of the questions you've got, but it will not answer every question you've got. The next thing that will increase your knowledge rapidly is to read through this manual and absorb it. So as soon as you get it, sit down with a cup of tea, break it up into some hour-long blocks so you don't get tired and bored with it, and have a read through and start to understand it. It really is an absolute key resource and a big part of how you will succeed this year. And then there's another resource that we get you that I need to point out to you, which is the planogram. The planogram is our solution to how you can maximise your sales on your store. It's about how to lay out the calendars on the store within categories and then on particular shelves and so forth, so that they will have the greatest appeal, the most impact, and will drive your sales as much as possible. It's a really, really well put together document, and Sarah and her team should be congratulated on it. It's super fantastic. And one of the reasons for that is absolutely throughout it, we'll start to increase your product knowledge almost immediately with the call-outs alongside that says, this is a bestseller, or this is the way that this calendar can be sold, or this is some of the features of this calendar that are important. It explains some of our decision making throughout and why we put different calendars in different places. We'll be using it this afternoon to actually planogram a store and help you, but again, this is one of your absolute key resources, one of the real keys to your success.
A couple of uptakes and key, I suppose, things to think about with the planogram is a couple of things. So we're bound by our own licence with our shopping centres. So they want us to look a particular way, and that's actually part of our covenant with those guys, is that we look a certain way. So the way that we categorise, the way that we planogram, and the way that we lay out our kiosk has been done specifically with our vendor partners, but also with our landlord stakeholders, okay? So that's one thing to remember. The other thing with the planogram, and Sarah and her team spent months, and I mean months, going through in specific and intricate detail space productivity of the kiosk over the last season. So we wanted to do even better than we did last year. So what we did was, we didn't say we're a victim of the retail climate. We actually went through, understood, and rebuilt the previous year. So with the benefit of hindsight, Sarah went through by title, almost by store, and said we should have bought more of this, we should have bought less of that. Customers clearly wanted some of this, customers clearly didn't want some of that. Then what she's gone through and done with our calendar cousins overseas is pretty much did the same type of thing with them and tried to understand what did they learn, what were their key outtakes. Because again, we've got a global calendar club family, so we leveraged them. What was some of their real big misses? What was their really big wins? And how do we actually put that into this year's program as well? So with the planogram, it really is a mix of art and science. So it has to be a visual feast from a distance. So when we actually build a kiosk, and we will be building one, and we will be building a full planogram over the next couple of days, you'll notice either end, we've got categories that are really, really popular. They're also specifically gender neutral. They're also age neutral. So that means from a distance, whether you're a man who's 82 years old, or you're a teeny bopper who wants to be 18 but you're really 12, and once your One Direction calendar, you actually have something that will stop you and actually invoke a conversation. Okay? It's all about conversations and being topical. Every one of the edges of the kiosk, the end caps we call them, are designed to stop traffic and be a little different. So if you, like Clem and a couple of others have already suggested, have a decent conversation, you should be walking away with an easy UPT or two. Easy. If you do want to change the planogram, that is your call. I wouldn't recommend it. Why? If you like pit bull terriers and you put pit bull terriers front and centre, you will sell more pit bull terriers. Good luck to you. But you will not target and capture as many of the customers that we know that we can attract. And over the combination of being doing this for 20 years, most of the shopping centres we've been in for like 10 to 15 years. So we actually know the behaviour of your sales in that store. That's why we give you budgets. Okay, so it's all built bottom up and top down. So there's a lot of math and science as well as art in the planogram. Please follow it.